Let's talk about Kanye because now he's on his apology tour and he out here begging y'all for his forgiveness because he decided to go after the wrong community, the Jews. And now that his career has been destroyed because he thought he was going to be out here like the white people and thinking that he could just say whatever the hell he wants with no consequence and no, repercussions for his actions, that he thought his little step and fetch it behind his little Uncle Ruckus ass could run around here and do the same thing these Nick Fuentes and all these other wannabe Nazis could do, where they was recently out of the club looking like something out of a Grinder ad, mind you. He thought he could just run out here and do all of that and that he was going to be spared, to the point where Kanye is so desperate for a comeback, he got to go all the way to India to perform. He got to go to the slums in order to, get a coin or a rupee. Because don't India, y'all get paid in rupees? Anyway, now that I got that little read out the way, and I'm sure there's going to be more that's going to come along. Now he's on his, I apologize, believe me, oh, believe me, I do. Shout out to Anita Baker. So Kanye is making headlines again with a public apology many thought we'd never see. Today, the controversial music star placed a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal addressed to those I hurt, in which he attempts to take responsibility for a string of offensive statements and behavior that sparked widespread backlash. In the lengthy note, he apologized alongside a discussion of his battle with bipolar disorder. I didn't know being bipolar also made you a racist, a bigot, I will say, or just spewing anti-Semitism and all kinds of stuff. Like, I didn't know that being bipolar all of a sudden woke up this Tourette's and made you have a Tourette's moment and had you out here saying derogatory. I didn't know that that's what your brain does. But okay, sir. So they said that, noting that he was not properly diagnosed until 2023, West linked his mental health struggles to undiagnosed and unexamined head trauma he might have suffered in the 2002 car crash that shattered his jaw and inspired his solo debut hit Through the Wire, saying, I lost touch with reality. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. He wrote of his recent manic episodes. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I loved the most, I treated the worst. You endured fear, confusion, humiliation, and the exhaustion of trying to love someone who was, at times, unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. Now, describing what it's like to be in a manic episode, he said, you don't think you're sick, and it feels like everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality, you're losing your grip entirely. Once people label you as crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. He also went on to add, the scariest thing about this disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind, but convinced you have insight. You feel powerful, certain, and unstoppable. He went on to admit that in his fractured state, I gravitated towards the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. So yeah, he sold that merch on his website last February, while a few months later, he released a song called Heil Hitler, which brings me to when I was talking about Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate brother and all of them was up in the club. First of all, they was up in a car together, a big old sausage factory, playing that in the vehicle on their way to the club. And then they got to the club and asked the DJ to play the song. And I'm sitting there like, are you dumb? I don't give a fuck if Jesus Christ came up in and asked me to play some goddamn Heil Hitler. I'm not playing it. I'm not playing nothing derogatory or be like, yeah, we're anti-Semitic. Oh yeah, we hate the Jews. It's like you doing all of that, and it's like, yeah, we're alphas. No, you're a fucking beta bitch. That's what y'all are. So, and we'll get to Kanye in a minute and his overall thoughts. But it's like when y'all doing all of that, and you thinking you flexing because you playing this foolishness. What girl is getting moist over that? With a bunch of you morons up in here in the VIP section asking to play Heil Hitler. Like nobody's getting moist off of that unless you a damn Nazi your damn self. So like that woman that was skinning them people in Monster, the Ed Gein story. If you could find you a girl like that, then of course she would get moist. But ain't no actual female, I don't think, To my, oh yeah, come bang me out in the bathroom because you playing Heil Hitler looking like you a real man. Like, fuck out of here. And then that guy whispered, I don't remember which one he was because I don't pay attention to these moronic influencers. But then one of them whispering to Nick Fuentes, who looked like he was the shortest one up in there, talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna get you a girl. Oh, please don't, because we know you a closeted self-hating homosexual. That's why you ain't want no pussy. You rather get that ass ringed. And no shade, I feel like the only way you handle a Nick Fuentes, you gotta angry fuck him without a condom. So in his apology, he also said one of the difficult aspects. Wait, hold on. Because I was like, oh yeah, that's that. But even before that, there had been other public incidences involving praise for Adolf Hitler and the promotion of Nazi iconography, along with the numerous anti-Semitic outbursts. Rolling Stone has also reported, shout out to Rolling Stone, but this is where I got this story from, by the way. Rolling Stone has also reported that West's fascination with Hitler and Nazis goes back several decades. So, but when y'all saying it goes back several decades, I have done the research. This is going based off of Rolling Stone. Was this before or after Through the Wire? So that's what I'm curious about. So did all of this liking all this Nazi stuff or fascination with it or being an anti-Semite, was this, after the accident or before, we knew who Kanye was? Because we know how y'all like to dig in people personal stuff when it comes down to, before they was famous or whatever. Y'all will find an old tweet that's something from somebody from 20 some odd years ago, even though 20 ain't been around. Well, has it been around that long? Decades. Y'all can find out decades ago somebody's stuff that they posted before they was even famous. Like how y'all uncovered Connor Story's YouTube channel when he was a So y'all be doing this, the sleuths be sleuthing when they need to. So now, in his apology, he also said one of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 are the disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall. That led to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes feels like an out-of-body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified of my actions in that state, and I'm committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though I am not a Nazi or a anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. And, some people be like, you have a funny way of showing it. Because how you go from, well, let me get to this part, because he also apologized to Black folks. He also apologized to the Black community, which he said held me down throughout all the highs and lows in the darkest of times. The Black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I am so sorry to have let you down. I love us. Because we was going to say, like, how you go from George Bush don't care about Black people to saying all the things you were saying, throwing Black people under the bus, saying slavery was a choice, and now you coming in saying all the anti-Semitic stuff that you were saying. It was like, I've never known people who have bipolar disorder or any kind of mental disability just go on these racial tirades. And I know there's people out here who believe that being racist is a mental illness. And it's like, hate is a learned behavior. It's not something somebody wakes up one morning and all of a sudden just gets this whole situation. Like mental health issues, that is something that could be hereditary or just due to stress or whatever the case is. But when you're looking at something like being a bigot, that's a learned behavior. That's something you learn from the company you keep, your parents, or whatever the case. People aren't born racist. People aren't born anti-Semitic. That is a learned behavior. So I don't know. So then, they said, according to West, the 4-month manic episode of psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive behavior he endured early last year nearly destroyed my life. He even appeared to admit to some apparent suicidal ideation, saying, as the situation became increasingly unsustainable, there were times I didn't want to be here anymore. He credits his wife, Bianca Sensori, who encouraged him to finally get help after they finally hit rock bottom a few months ago. Now, West said he has been searching for a new baseline and new center through an effective regime of medication, therapy, exercise, and clean living. He also said he had found comfort in Reddit forums where people share their own experiences of being in manic or depressive episodes of a similar nature. He said, I read their stories and realized that I was not alone. Now, in closing out his apology, he said he has found some much needed clarity and is putting this energy into positive, meaningful art, music, clothing, design, and other new ideas to help the world. saying, I'm not asking for sympathy or a free pass, though I aspire to earn your forgiveness. I write today simply to ask for your patience and understanding as I find my way home. So, you know, he dotted all the I's across all the T's, and it definitely sounds convincing. Like, you almost got me, sir, but you want to know something? I'm a New Yorker, I'm also a Virgo, and I'm also got a cynic side. So while I'm all for you pulling it together and really showing that you have grown, and my thing is action speaks louder than words. You could write a whole citation. You could write a 50,000 page book on how sorry you are to the community. I got to see action. Put the words. Like your words, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And I feel like this is not the first time that you have apologized for your behavior and being offensive. Because remember, you went back in 2023, you published a note on Instagram, written in Hebrew, by the way, and said that you apologize to the Jewish community for unintended outbursts caused by my words or actions. It wasn't your intention to hurt or demean, and you regretted any pain you may have caused. So you've done this before. And then you went back and showed your ass again. And now here you come out with a much longer post. We going to be on Instagram, and now I got to really put my little seal of approval on it by going to the Wall Street Journal. What's next? When you decide to have another outburst, we're going to what's higher than the Wall Street Journal? You gonna put it in the New York Times? We going to Variety or Deadline? We going to Entertainment Weekly? We're gonna do it in video form. Like, I just need to know. So, like I said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. I want to believe you. You're gonna have to put in the work. I do like the idea that you threw in them extra, little extra seasoning in the gumbo, which was like, I'm not asking for your sympathy or for your forgiveness. I just want to show you that I'm gonna work at being a better person. And like I said, show it in your actions. If you come out and say another thing against the Black community and the Jewish community, then people need to fully wash their hands of you. I do agree that, you know what, we're all human beings. We're all a work in progress. We all deserve a second chance, or sometimes a third. We fall down, but we get up. That was good for that moment, although I can't stand Dolly McClurkin. And it's funny how I had to go and use that reference for this mess. Two problematic ass people. But nevertheless, I'm rooting for you to get better, Kanye. You still Kanye until proven otherwise. I'm not changing that name. I always give a nickname to people. When it's a term of endearment, and when you get on my root canal nerve, I always give y'all know, depending on the tone of the situation. And so I hope he is working on it. Now, it's funny how he thanked Bianca Censori, but we ain't hear no kind of apologies about Kim when you basically revealed that Kim wanted to abort North. Then you reveal that, T. So I wonder if you don't need to write it in the thing whether or not you did. That's none of our business. I just hope that in private you worked, whatever, made amends with her. I did hear that he did work on some music for Northwest's upcoming album. I don't know who's gonna buy that, because, child, you're not gonna be this generation's Raven Simone with the rapping and all of the stuff. But if it's cute, I'm sure we'll see how them numbers do in the streaming space if Northwest is real serious about the music. Because I did hear our father did produce some songs or whatever the case is, which should not come as a surprise, because that little girl's got access to all the things. But hopefully you worked it out with Kim, because that is the mother of your 4 children, and that there comes a time and a place where it's like, you're making amends and working on your relationship with your children, because, like they were saying before, you kind of abandoned them. You've been off doing your own thing. I know you're working on your mental health. Hopefully you are getting the help that you need. You do have the money and the access, which I've been saying for years, by the way, that it's like, wait a minute, all this stuff you're saying is no excuse. You have more money in your account than most people will ever see in their lifetime. You have access to all the things to make yourself get better. But I also understand that there's a thing within the Black community, especially when it comes to men and mental health, that a lot of times, a lot of us Black men, we have pride. We barely will go to the doctor and get a prostate exam to make sure we don't, look at it as gay or whatever. Okay, well then pass away from cancer then, because you're worried about something go up in your ass. I would rather, well, I guess it probably doesn't work because I'm a homosexual. Let me saying this, but let me tell my business. I live the lifestyle of a top. You can stick your finger in my behind or whatever, just to make sure I ain't got no polyps or nothing up in there. So with black people not willing to go to the doctor or especially men, where they could be stubborn in regards of their health, I could totally understand why the black men would scoff at dealing with the mind and mental health and that sort of thing. So at the end of the day, as I say, I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic in regards to Kanye. I'm gonna still keep one eye on the side, still side-eyeing a little bit, a little cynical, but 80% cynical, 20% non-cynical. So I'm gonna give you a little benefit of the doubt, but I'm just gonna wait for that shoe to drop. And if it does, then we know, like any other time, you full of shit. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Do you believe? Do you believe that Kanye is going to put in the work to be a changed man after this is the second time he's apologized to the Jewish people? This might be the first time he's apologized to the black community, though, in regards of his stance on his this recent situation where he's they not feeling him. His career's in the toilet, and this apology is his way of trying to get back in the good graces because he probably realizing that them financials is dwindling. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.